get straight to it. They lose this debate for 3 reasons. The first reason is that they read no evidence on niggas specifically. In the last speech, he has dropped this argument and he has failed to identify the reasons in which why. The other argument that he was trying to perpetuate was that if he had no evidence specifically niggas, there was reasons why he should vote for T. That in itself shows you how T does not provide an education that involves niggas. As a matter of fact, it excludes the niggas. The identification itself is when he talked about the what the fuck you gonna do now verse. Judge, matter of fact, critic, because you ain't a judge, we ain't on trial. Check it out. This is what it is. When he talked about the what the fuck you gonna do now verse, it was the identification itself. The big crit was talking about what the fuck we gonna do now when the police comes to us. The police are those people who are enforcing the laws. The topicality verse, the argument that they are trying to do is enforce that same law. So the argument is going to say, what the fuck we gonna do now when we see this? The identification is that the 1AC is a resistance of that. When he says, when he says, war power shouldn't be used against niggas. The second thing, the reason why they lose is they have no answer to the next level besides what they said in the last speech. The next level argument is when I was talking about Dion like this from Baltimore, when I was identifying that the education that we produce within this route gives a space to people and kids with different types of interpretations of how policy debate has policy debate functions. Not only that, the personal experience impact of what they have not shown, it caused the commodification that they were talking about, especially when you talk about visibility and all that other shit they're talking about co-opting and everything that's going wrong with us. The personal experience is something that completely has left out. It shows you how within the next level they do not make a space for the personal experience for those kids that come inside the space, meaning they make it worse, meaning they transfer those impacts over to the next level. The third reason why they lose is that they make the impacts of niggas getting hit by war powers inevitable. The niggas getting hit by war powers is the biggest impact within this round. It didn't outweigh any of the shit that talking about fairness in the debate round. First of all, he has said you can't give one example about fairness in black debate. I'm gonna think of a few things. Harvard, I don't know, motherfuckers always saying that we never give a verse. Oh, let me say this. The threshold in which the arguments are given, let me tell you this. Inside your RFD of this decision, if your RFD does not include the verses, especially include the arguments, that's the identification of fairness in itself. It shows you how when he failed to identify code switching, what I said in my verse, this code switching can switch into code shit. It was an identification that it can be some type of education within this round that can do something if he forms a code switch. He therefore tries to change the definition of code switching from being switched to the black vernacular, switched to a white vernacular, then reading the way and speaking the way you do and speaking the way me and George do. He thus tries to change that to talking about pain, which he doesn't do anyway. It shows you how that failure to and the negation to engage those things. He said it's racist to say that white fairness outweighs nigga education. Let me tell you this. Back in the last speech when he talks about we comply with the speech times, we comply with the speech times because we had the debate. It's also racist to show you to say that we're supposed to come in here and start knocking over shit or say, oh, fuck whitey, and then we have nothing to say. It shows you how he thinks the only negation of niggas, the only intelligent niggas comes out of aggression and bruteness and doesn't go into argumentation form. It shows you how when I'm talking about nigga stuff, that is the negation of the government on a political level, not just on identification of pain level. I said your pain is the language. It is when they speak in fluent. Those people that speak in fluent do not have an engagement to do what they do. Not only that, the Judy evidence talks specifically to how niggas can reject the government. When he said the Judy evidence is not talking about the USFG, yes the fuck it is. Judy evidence is identifying how niggas within this space is resisting. Now, go back to the argument which he dropped and he said Negro. It was my point I told you he was gonna say. You didn't believe me at first, I already knew it. Look, I told you he was gonna say Negro but not say nigga. Now, I'm not saying a nigga should say nigga, but I'm identifying itself that as the identification itself that it's easy to say Negro, and it's not easy to say Negro. It became unpopular between white folks just because the niggas are a rejection of those things. It's the one place that a black person can say, you can't do that, whitey. It's the only place where a black person can say, I can stand against racism and says, I can fuck you up if you do it or whatever. It's always the impact of that that has scared the white. That is the reason why the nigga does something. Meaning, when George talked about if we do make him groundless, shit, give all the impacts that they said on the Top County argument. It's good. It shows you how we did something for this shit. Now, the shit that they talk about is lies. The reason why we rejected this shit and saying shit, we did make a bill for y'all. We do talk about niggas every round. Shit, we do spit these verses all the time. Shit, you do know about Big Crit. Shit, white people do hear this shit all the time. But the identification itself shows you that when you vote for the white person, when you vote for that white, but then those white arguments, all those things, they still make it ineligible for the nigga to engage. Other argument they said was voting for the app empowers the next level. Only empowers ourselves and doesn't empower the next level. That's also fucked up. And I didn't have to defend that shit. I've given multiple examples about how what I'm saying evolves to the next level. You go to my Facebook page, my motherfucking Instagram, my kids hit me up about this shit. Not only do we perpetuate this education within other rails, motherfucker, we do this all the time and shows you how other kids get a fistball for this. When they talk about the example T and Rodriguez or whatever the evidence they talk about, and said that you prove that you have to prove you have a good discussion, it shows you how it makes it so selfish. Judge, take it to the mind. the arguments that they giving are so selfish to where they say, nigga, you gotta prove to me this is gonna do something for me for me to have this education. Like what you said back in the day, what have you done for me lately? It shows you that it doesn't identify how in itself you can do anything for white production and you're not good. You're not the Negro. You have been formed as the bad nigga. They have places as the bad niggas in this space, meaning we win. When they said you have to give you have to give examples of the F, you have gave great examples of the F. I feel like that's exactly our point when you talk about, yeah, this is what I'm talking about, topic conversion right now. When you talk about we gave good examples of the F, I think that's exactly our point. The personal experience of it I was talking about at the top of the speech shows how we are unique. The topical version that they give is always some non-unique shit. I said debate me on some old shit. I identified it as something. This is a unique way that we can come about this space and do something. The other thing is that the fact that people always go for T is the reason. First of all, motherfucker, don't try to get out and say this is the reason people always go for T. People always go for T because they're a negation of the nigga. They're a negation of black folks. It's not because I'm in here opposing that shit, because I'm being that term within this space. Debate is a game. Now understand, when he said debate is a game, go into my face. Go into my verse, I said debate is not a game. See, that thought was the flaw, because niggas dying ain't fun, so why you having a ball? There's no fairness, there's no threshold. It's the reason in which, it's no fairness, it's the reason which you voted for, the reason why they lose.